Let's talk about how the market is bouncing back. I mean, what certainly do you think is driving the rally we saw in the market today?
Good afternoon. What has happened is that the first 2 days of the week, the market was slow, the market was down, but the last 3 days, including today, have been good. The market has gone up. And I think basically you have investors who are engaging with the market, people who are taking profits a couple of days ago, last week. So they're back in the market now. Prices are looking good. The sentiments are still positive, and all of that is driving the market.
And let's take a look at the week's performance, Aigboje. I mean, it started off bearish, and talking to a broker today, he said actually the market makers did a lot to stabilize it, because suddenly the market didn't perform well until Thursday, maybe.
Well, yes, like I said, well, there are two things. You have investors, ordinary investors coming in to invest in the market to buy stocks. Then you have the market makers, playing their role, and that also stabilizes the market a bit. But I won't say everything is because of the market makers. I'll say yes, the activities of the market makers and other investors too, because you need all investors to be engaged in the market, not just the market makers.
And certainly I'd like to check in on how the market makers have been doing. And I know your firm is actually one of the market makers. That you guys have been on board for about 2 months now. What has it been like?
Well, we started on September 18, and we set out a 6 months rollout period for ourselves. We are just 2 months into it, a third of the way. And I would say so far, so good. That's where I would characterize it. We've been learning along the way. We're setting a very good foundation, and we're beginning to make our impact in the market. There are about 31 stocks as of today that we're making a market on, the 10 market makers, and that accounts for about 54% of market cap. So it's gradual, and in the weeks to come, we're going to take on more stocks and increase our coverage of stocks. So I say it's a very good start, and I expect it to even get better. Yeah.
Great. Well, let's talk about how the market performed, and looking at specific sectors. Certainly the agricultural sector featured today in our gainers list. We saw Presco up about 43 kobo, and we know, I mean, stocks in that sector have been performing quite well. Okoronkwo Oil, also one of the top players in the market now. How, for you, Aigboje, has that sector been looking, especially to investors?
Well, it's looking very good, because they're delivering in terms of good corporate earnings. If you look at Okoronkwo from the beginning of the year to just close of market today, it's gone up 47%. If you look at Presco from beginning of the year to today, it's gone up 67%. That's a stellar performance by any yardstick. So they're doing well, and the corporate earnings back it up, and investors are optimistic that the companies will do well when we see their final results. So investors who have bought them are quite happy.
Right, and what about the oil sector? The two stocks not performing so well, Okoronkwo Oil, both down today. Certainly it seems investors are a bit bearish on that sector. Do you know what could be behind this?
Well, when we talk about oil, we're talking about basically the oil marketing companies. I think it has to do basically with the policy issues surrounding that industry. The issue of subsidy, we have partial subsidy removal. We're about to go into the new year, so there's a bit of anxiety as to, is there going to be a full removal of subsidies and so on. So people are skeptical. We already have long fuel queues and so on. So investors are giving that sector a pass for now. They're just sitting on the fences and seeing how things play out. Because the expectation is that as we go into the new year, there will be another round of fuel increases, another round of subsidy removals, and people are not sure how that is going to play out. So everybody's just watching and waiting to see how things are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Aigboje, before I get your outlook, I mean, I was just taking a look at the gainers list, and I noticed a stock NCR, one of the top gainers of the day, was actually up 66 kobo to 14 naira. And I think NCR is an IT stock, not very liquid, but it seems to be moving now. Do you have any inkling as to what's behind the demand for that, the sudden demand for that stock?
No, I don't know, but it's likely to be a specific demand, maybe a movement from one investor to another investor.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
so it's not a stock that is well, broadly
Okay.
followed, but it's likely to be something like that. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, let's talk about your outlook, for the market. And I just want to start with the minister yesterday. She alluded to the fact that AMCON was on the verge of, giving the stockbrokers that forbearance that they've been asking for. How soon do you think we're going to see that coming to play? And certainly with her making this comment yesterday, how is the market taking it?
Well, she's made one or two other pronouncements before, so the market has been expecting this for a while. So yesterday's pronouncement was good. I expect that we'll get a formal announcement before the end of the year so that we can go into the new year with good news. And I think basically what that will do for brokers will be that it will provide liquidity to the market. It will strengthen the brokers, and strong, good, healthy brokers are good for the market. So the liquidity that will be provided will also be good for the market. So I think it's a positive move. It's a good move. Some people will argue that it's a little bit belated, but I say, look, better late than never.
And as we go into next week, we know the MPC decision, inflation probably coming out next week. How do you think, what are your expectations? And of course, how do you think that will play into how the market performs next week?
Well, I think, broadly speaking, the expectations will be that, inflation could be on the upward, on the uptick, because there have been discussions around food prices, the floods we had, and how that would have an impact on food prices. In some parts of the country, we've seen how the floods have impacted on food prices. So you could see inflation that may be, pulled up by food prices. Then there's also the issue of fuel subsidy. If the price of petroleum products go up, that could also have a bearing on inflation. So we could see a slight uptick, yeah.